What's happening, folks out there? Broadcasting live to you and yours. I'm Justin Reed, your boy, aka Too Tall for You Fool, and we would like to welcome you to the Game & Watch podcast, episode number 71. Like I said, we are live for the first time ever, so if you guys have any comments, want to ask us any questions if you're watching, feel free. So before we get started, let's go around the table as I introduce my co-host. Joining us from last week, second episode on the Game & Watch podcast, Ryan from Inward Games. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back.
All right, no problem, man. We also got Electrancy back. How you doing?
Doing well.
That's good. And we have Matt the Educator.
Hey, good to be back.
Maybe I'll go with that, Matt the Educator.
No quibbles this week. I mean, I said in our Discord chat earlier that it could have been the pedantic with all the questions I asked about this week's podcast. So I'll be happy with Educator. All good.
All right, yeah. Well, I'm still trying to find a nickname for you, man. Everyone else has one, but you, as many times as you've been on the show. All right, so once again, I'd like to remind you folks watching or listening that the Game & Watch podcast is an RView Gaming or OVG production. For your viewing pleasure, we stream on Facebook Live, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. For your listening pleasure, we are available on all listening platforms wherever you are listening to this podcast, such as the one you're listening to. So be sure to, if you want to listen to the show as you're watching, just be sure to find us on whatever your platform is. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're on there. We're just about on everything. Oh, and by the way, we also have a Patreon. Donate to us, and we will make a better show for you guys. Better show for us to host, and better show for you guys watching or listening. Links to wherever you want to follow us or anything we talk about on the show will be in the video description or the show notes.
I thought we were already the best podcast. How could we make this better?
Well, we have a lot of great stuff coming up this year, and this is only the beginning. I mean, I'm excited to see what the future holds for us. The little side projects that RView Gaming is coming up with, and anything that we come up with later this year. So, I mean, I'm very excited. I think we're the best podcast ever. So, definitely
best but not perfect, I guess.
Yeah, we're definitely not perfect. No, we're far from it. With that being said, now that I introduced you guys, how's your week been? How's everything going in the world of whatever y'all do outside of this podcast?
Well, that's good. I mean, I just kicked off my other podcast, the Teaching Culture Cast, again for the new year. I'd taken a bit of a hiatus from it just to recharge my podcasting batteries, as we all did for this podcast as well.
Yeah.
So episode 8 came out today, and it's a very turbulent world in teaching across the planet at the moment with the way things sit with pandemic response and things like that. So I'm really hoping that should people listen to the episode, it gives them a bit of a break from having to think about all that stuff. Not to say that education is the worst impacted job in the world, but it's definitely not the best position to be in these days.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I got a daughter, who's in school right now. What's going on right now. It's just, yeah. But I don't know if I told you guys. I told you guys while I was off air. But I come from a teaching family. My mom's a teacher, so retired teacher, but she did it for very many years. If you're watching or listening, Mom, shout out to you.
Yep, is Mom. It's a good job teaching. But the funniest thing is that collectively across the planet, there seems to be some ideas being thrown around to try and fill the gaps in teaching at the moment, because teachers are being taken are off-site and staying at home because they're either a close contact or they're experiencing COVID themselves. So there's been a lot of ideas thrown around, like bringing retired teachers back. And
Oh,
who knows, your mum might get called up to the plate again. But the unfortunate thing is that
we'll see.
most retired teachers are old enough to be in the risky bracket when it
Yeah,
comes to experiencing that stuff, just as risky as the kids are. So it's
yeah.
it's a really tough position to be in. Really, really tough.
It's all Russian roulette right now. Just a big gamble, if you ask me. Well,
Yep.
I mean, well, it's glad to see you're doing well, Matt. How about you, Ryan? How's your week been? How have you been doing?
Uh, I'm doing good. All things considered, with the way the world is. But gaming wise, things have been good. I I finished Death's Door. I also finished Kena Bridge of Spirits, so it was a good week for finishing off some games, so I can move on to some other stuff.
That's
Death's
great.
Door, we talked about it last week, is an amazing game, and having finished it, I still feel the exact same way, if not more so. So it was a good week for me.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. And Elect Francie, how you been? How you been doing?
I've been doing pretty well, all things considered. I think I mentioned before the show that I was in the hospital. So, yeah, I came
Oh
back
man.
full force and I am ready to take on the world. Just me versus the world.
Oh
No,
yes.
no, I've been playing. I've been playing Hunt Down on Steam, and it's a good throwback to the '80s and '90s. Excellent arcade game, and just it lifts your spirits to play that game, in my opinion, just because it's nostalgic, but also it also brings some things from elements from the current generation to bring things up to date, and that's respectable when you can kind of fuse both the past and the present. So I've been playing that game. I have other things that I'm working on as well, other than games. Games is one of the things I do actually 2 days a week,
All
and I
right.
just set my schedule up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good. Everything's good here, and I'm ready to take on the year.
Yeah. Right on.
I
That's
have a
good.
question
Yeah,
before we
sure.
move on.
Mhm.
Hunt Down, is that Hunt Down the Freeman?
Hunt down the no. This is a game. It's just last year it was released actually. Um,
Okay.
it's by the same people that made Satisfactory and uh, Valheim.
Yeah,
Uh,
Coffee Stain Studios.
yeah. Coffee Stain Studios.
Okay.
Um,
I'll have to go and look for that.
yeah,
Big fan of
it's
Satisfactory right
really
here. So
really
Yeah.
cool game. And I didn't even like know about it until I just kind of was doing some research on the company, because I really like their other games. I think they do a great job. Even
Mm.
the games that I don't really play, like what is that one where everybody's a dwarf? You know what I'm talking about? I can't think of the name off the
uh,
top of my head.
Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played the game. It's okay. It's okay. It's presented amazingly. And I could be wrong. I just don't see it having the gameplay value that I might be interested in. It looks like
Mm,
it's trying to be kind of I don't know, destructible Minecraft-esque type game where you can control your environment and kind of move around. But I like the company. I think they made some great games so far, and they're relatively new. So
great
yeah.
community too.
Hmm.
All
Yeah,
right. Well,
that's how I heard it described, was Minecraft esque.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm not, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'll be big on it necessarily, but my brother said he sunk like 300 plus hours into it and suggested it to me. So I was like,
Wow.
maybe I should give it a shot, but it doesn't necessarily sound like a game that I would play.
Yeah, I mean, I jumped into it for about an hour myself, and yeah, just what can I say? It's all right. I mean, I do want to jump into it a little more, but just I mean, I've been a busy man this week, but we'll get more into what we're playing later on down the line through this podcast. All right, now that everyone's doing good, everyone's doing well today on the show. The main topic of discussion is going to be the Nintendo Switch and its lifetime sales, and we're also going to go into the Xbox One and the PS4s, and if they're staying around, if they're going to be going. But for first, let's get into some of these topics, and we're going to start with a very important one in gaming: backwards compatibility. Now, Sony for the longest time has been, they haven't been very good with it. I mean, from the PS2 to the PS1, they were great. Like every PS1 game was, playable on the PS2 for the most part. PS3, they started out halfway good, but then they, like the second iteration of those consoles, they just stopped the backwards compatibility, mainly to get the price tag down for it. And when I finally got my PS3, it did not the only PS2 games I could play were the ones I got off the PlayStation store. I'm just being real with you. And then PS3 to PS4, you couldn't play any PS3 games at all. So on the PS4, so pretty much I still have my PS3 plugged in here when I record game footage on it. It also had HDCP, so pretty much I had to get a block. So if I ever do record any game footage for y'all from there, I just know that I'm using a block. That's how I'm doing it. I'll show you all about that later. But it seems like maybe they finally figured it out with the PS5. You can play just about every PS4 game on there, which is, good. But
Necessary, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely necessary in this day and age, especially with the way consoles are going right now. We'll get into that a little later. But will it be able to play PS3, PS2, and PS1 games with this new patent that they filed? Um, they said that they've done this before, but I just want to know with this patent that's been filed. Do you think that it could be happening sooner rather than later, or do you think that just not going on? I'm intrigued to hear what you guys think.
Well, patent's a patent, right? Doesn't mean they've made it. Doesn't mean they've built it. Doesn't mean it's possible. But they're reserving the right to be able to do it. That's like if they filed for it, doesn't necessarily mean much in terms of what the actual product will be or what they can actually do.
Spartacus.
Yeah,
But
I
the thing-
agree. I'm sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. But if it's a patent, doesn't mean anything per se. But Mark Cerny did talk a few months ago. They talked some hardware. It was like a weird conference that Mark Cerny gave, and every now and then they'll put him out there to talk about some stuff that most people don't understand.
Last time it was the molding for the special
Right.
gamer headphones, right?
Yeah, and it's like, I don't get it, but this man's a genius, so I'm all for him. I think he did mention though at one point that the Tempest engine in the PS5, which is mostly used for audio and working out 3D audio, but it's a chip that could be used for other things as well. And like it was a while back now, but the way he said it almost hinted at like it could be used to help out with emulation of some kind. So that, and just I think Sony really wants to do backwards compatibility is for the PS3, but it's just struggling to do so because of how complicated that system was. So the fact that I don't get why there's not PS1 and PS2 games though, being played on PS5 and PS4 right now, more of them.
Yeah.
But I think Sony really does want this to happen. And it's a lot of weird oddities with the PS3 that's kind of holding it back. But if there's one person who can make it happen, I think it's Mark Cerny. So I have faith. But it's a long shot, and a patent doesn't really it doesn't mean anything per se. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but I am feeling a little bit hopeful about this article that something could be happening soon. And like you said, especially with Spartacus as well.
Yeah, I think him being attached to it means that it's more than likely to happen, other than it just being a random patent filed by Sony Interactive Entertainment or something like that.
Right.
I think it would be an important move for Sony. Honestly, I think they've got a lot of competition, and they're going to need something to make themselves stand out of the crowd to, make people want to buy their product. And when you have that extra advantage of saying, "Hey, all these games that we've already made, they actually still work," I have to be honest with you. When I bought the Xbox 360, that was kind of one of the things that I was curious about when I would get the Xbox One, which I never ended up getting, by the way, because it didn't support a lot of the games. And I would look at the list, and Microsoft was awfully, lackluster in their attempt to make these games work that I already had. And it's just like, okay, do I want to waste money on something that will basically render all the games that I have useless, and just have another brick sitting on top of my, other bricks? No, not really. I'll switch back to PC. And I did, and that's what I've been on since.
Well, I mean, definitely, I'm very hopeful that this does happen. I mean, I don't have very many PS1 games in my collection right now. Just like a couple that work on my PS3. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but PS1 games actually do work on the PS3. Even the newer ones that they made later on, the PS1 games still work. So that's a good thing. So, but I mean, I'm I can only hope that they would work on the PS5, quite frankly. And I would definitely go out, start PS2 collecting again if PS2 games worked. I mean, I can understand why the PS3 wouldn't work with the PS5. The architecture at that time, very 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 complicated, and just I think they kind of figured it out with the PS4. It was just they just couldn't make it work. But I mean, for me personally, the PS3, I have a whole collection of games in my drawer right there. So I mean, I'm not too concerned with the PS3, but I mean, only time will tell. But I mean, it could be leading up to something a little more, and that's what we're going to get into our next article, which is is PlayStation Now about to disappear? Spartacus, which we've talked about on the show before, is pretty much the rumor-based service that, well, I guess it's the code name, rumor-based service that's pretty much going to combine PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, are we going to see PS1 games, PS2 games, PS3 games digitally? More of them. We can already play PS4 games on the PlayStation 5. So, I mean, it would be good, and I think it would also be good to have this, just to see, Games Pass get a little bit of some competition. Right now, I don't think there's really any competition. I mean, and I know a lot of y'all have attacked me for this since I've said this, but Game Pass is the best deal in gaming.
I don't think has anyone attacked you for that.
Well,
Because it literally is. Like you
Yeah.
pay
well,
$10 a month or whatever.
No, Finance a couple episodes back. Yeah, he was like, "Is this the
Okay.
same guy?" When I said, "Yeah, you weren't on this episode," but yeah,
Right.
but yeah, it
'Cause it would
is.
be a silly proposition to say, no, this is not the best deal because you get access to hundreds of games for $10 a month, right? It is the best deal. But it has also been quite often said that the Spartacus project isn't going to be a Game Pass.
Yeah,
Combining the two services together isn't going to necessarily come up as competition. And when you explained it just then, I thought more about the Switch online game service than anything else. And yeah, it's not great, but people still buy it, right? People
yeah,
are
I bought
still
it.
dumping money into it.
I bought it. Only
That
$20. I'm
one we
not.
can attack you for. This is terrible. I'm paying for it. Does make sense. But thinking about how terrible a service that can be, but still people still pay for it. Imagine if Sony made a service for PlayStation that was better than that, and they drip fed games through that, maybe with uh, extra payments for extra games played in the cloud or on their services. Like it seems like a no brainer to combine the two together. And you know, the midway between Game Pass and the Nintendo Switch Online platform seems to be where it's sitting in my mind. And it could be good, could be bad. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. We'll just have to wait and
Yeah.
see on that one. But I
I
mean,
think
yeah, go ahead.
the big difference here that's gonna because PlayStation Now is in ways similar to Game Pass, not as good of a deal. It's not as great, not nearly as great. But the biggest difference is the the day that the games come out on Game Pass, the day they release, and Sony's not going to do that with its first party. I mean, maybe they will. We'll see what they say with Spartacus, but I highly doubt it. Their franchises are, I think, too valuable to do that. And so as long as they don't do that, they're always going to be seen as behind Game Pass, which is doing that. So
but looking
like
at the big picture, though, we may be careening faster towards something that is a competition with Sony and Microsoft like rushing to buy up studios, right? And that's partly why Game Pass can do what it does.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. And another thing I've heard too, I forget where I read this, but based on how Game Pass Ultimate's doing, I hear they may get rid of just paying for Xbox Live, just making it free. Then if Microsoft does that, make their online free, to just play any multiplayer games online with your friends or whatnot. That's just saying, all right, what's Nintendo and Sony gonna do if they were to do something like that?
I think it would have the value of that move would have to be like a shot to the bow that would just sink those ships, because Microsoft is still Microsoft, right? They understand
At
that
the
the
end of the
value
day.
isn't selling hardware, it's in selling software. And not just software now, it's subscription services.
Hmm.
So if they're taking a dive on the Series X by not getting the money back for the creation of that console, which they're very likely not doing because they can't push as many units, then they may want to try and recoup those losses in an online service that's paid for. There's been a lot of chat about raising the price of things and pushing services together. There was a big hullabaloo about Xbox Live Gold being pushed together with something else and increasing the price by $10 or $15, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of rumors out there. I mean, I've been hearing like a lot of things. I've heard about them getting rid of Live Gold altogether and just combining it. It's I mean, it's intriguing to see what they will do. I mean, I don't. I mean, if they do get rid of it, it's just like balls in Nintendo's court, balls in Sony's court. I mean, that's the way I look at it in terms of like if they were to get rid of their paid on online, make it free again or whatever.
I think the thing that's dangerous with Game Pass is that it's probably already operating at such a level where it's like they can't really get rid of any more like income sources because it's probably already so expensive for Game Pass. So if anything, eventually that price is going to have to start coming up. Just like with Netflix, they got a bunch of subscribers, and then once you get the subscribers, you slowly start to boost that subscription amount, like how much you're paying each month. So Xbox is going to have to do the same thing because there's no way Game Pass as it stands right now is really making, I mean, not to say it's not making a lot of money for them, but they're really at a position right now where they're going all in and they're kind of going for the jugular. And I don't think they can make it any cheaper. And I think if you get rid of all that income that would be coming in for Xbox Live, for the online, it's starting to get pretty risky. You're losing even more money when what you need to do is start boosting. You need more subscribers and you need to start raising that price. So I think it would be dangerous for them, even if it would be simpler to do that. I feel like it'd be dangerous for them at this point to do that without raising the cost of Game Pass.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that in general, but at the same time, it's like with the subscription, they kind of have you by the balls, and you got to think about things like Steam, right? I mean, you don't have to pay for Steam. You got the community, you've got the games, you have everything right there. And although it's PC, it's limited in that sense, some might see that as an advantage, where not necessarily a disadvantage. So
I think it'd be good for the consumer, but
yeah.
I don't know if Microsoft could do it right now.
Absolutely. In the end, it might be. I want to say it might be beneficial for both sides because, right, for the short term, it might hit Microsoft, but I don't. really see that as a problem. I mean, seriously.
So here is the big thing, though, because you did say that you mentioned Steam. We've just been talking about Game Pass, even though we're supposed to be talking about the new Spartacus platform, right? The big question will become when the big companies manage to sort out exactly what's going on and they get their services up and running, how likely are consumers going to be to have multiple subscriptions? And is the value add of what the cost will be for each going to be enough to have multiple of them? For the people who have an Xbox and have a PlayStation because they want access to those first party titles, which, let's be honest, they're going to be exclusive because Sony set the benchmark for that with the previous generation. If the consumer value add is going to be about having multiple subscriptions together and not just picking their allegiance to one, the cost has to be equivalent to that.
There's also
So-
one more thing that I wanted to mention, which is the fact that every one of these consoles has a next generation console, and when that next generation console comes out,
Mhm.
if all that money was put towards subscription, they may not be able to buy it immediately, and that initial delay of customers buying that next generation console
Yeah.
may actually impact the company more in the end. So it's just something to
But
think about.
Sony's doing great on that front too. Not to dwell on it too long, but we talked about the PSVR 2 last week. That's something that requires the PlayStation 5. So that's going to
Yeah.
push hardware sales forward too, but only for people who have, $1,000 to drop on both those things together.
And if they
Like
can make
there's,
enough of them.
yeah, like there's
And I-
lots of forces pushing in multiple directions here. It's interesting.
I think VR is really interesting in this context with Game Pass because you can't stream VR,
Mhm.
and not to say it'll never happen, but it seems very unlikely that VR is going to get streamed anytime soon because you need that ultra low latency. So it's almost like one way that Sony could pivot almost if they can't compete with Game Pass in the end. They could, you could go the VR route and hope that takes off, and hopefully, maybe it will. And then you're kind of protected from any kind of streaming service that you have to compete with because you have to have hardware in your house for that.
And the hardware bit is so interesting too, because we could be looking at a very long hardware generation this
Yeah.
time, just because way things have gone and how far down the line they've looked when they've developed the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. What's going to be possible further on as time goes on is going to be really interesting to see too.
Yeah, it's like if you think about it, it's like how more real can video games get? How more clearer can an image get like when you're watching? I mean, maybe this is just me because I've been playing video games since the 8-bit era, but it's just incredible to see like where it's gone. And it's just like I'm just trying to think like how possibly more real can it get? And then just on another thing too, it's just like Matt, you bring up a really good point about the it going to be this is going to be a very long generation, and I'm very curious to see if this is the last generation of physical games. I personally don't think it will be as long as it's going to be, but I don't think it's going away within the next at least 10 years. I mean, it's going to take a minute to get rid of physical video games, in my opinion. I mean, that's just
I
I
think
mean,
if we're talking about patents, we need to patent Ryan's idea of blockchain based third party game sales. I think we got to do that. Then we're getting rid of physical games in 10 years.
I don't think physical games are going away, but probably they will get more expensive, like 2 or 3-fold. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's no joke.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like, once the consoles come out without a disc drive, how do you even release a physical game?
Yeah, they're already halfway there. They have the PS5, all digital. I have not met anyone who owns it yet. But they have it, and the
Yeah,
Series S, that's
I
all
think,
digital.
like you said, I think by next generation, there's a good chance that there's no disc drive in any of the consoles.
Look, I'm going to put my futurology hat on here and say people like discs because that's what we're used to. What if in 5 years we've got, quantum storage available, and instead of inserting disks, we're selling little cubes, little light cubes that include terabytes of information, and all of a sudden you're just like chucking it on top like you used to do with I can't even remember those games. Like Amiibo is the best one I can think of. Like a cube on top of your thing, not worried about disks. You don't even have to worry about disk trays and things like that. It just sucks up all that info, and that's your physical media. I think that would be cool.
That reminded me of there's like one of the PlayStation press conferences for like the PlayStation 3. Yeah, like one of the E3s one year had like a video in it that was like the future of PlayStation, and it was like PlayStation 9, and it was just like a floating orb.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's coming. Awesome. They called it.
Yeah, they called it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know for me, it's just
your adrenaline.
For me, it's just physical media. It's just I think it was a PlayStation 4 promo that they did. They were taking an attack at a Xbox, because I think it was pretty much like once you registered a game onto the Xbox at the time, it could only be used for that system, and you'd have to like pay for it or something like that. But right. Yeah, but they're pretty much like, if you want to loan a friend the game, they pretty much just gave each other the game. that was funny. Like
that was the start of PlayStation just nailing everything and Xbox just stumbling.
Yeah,
which led to the PS4 generation.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely learned a lot from the PS3 and the PS4. They just got maybe over 80% of what they did correct, in my opinion. Just so, I mean.
And now it's the opposite with Xbox or Microsoft learning from Xbox One and coming out hard with Game Pass.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think each company has learned from their mistakes, and I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not a fanboy of either company. I just want to see, everyone do well. Even Nintendo, I just want to see everyone do well, and just have happy fans, customers. But with Nintendo, they got to fix that online service, man. I'm telling you, man. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
I would agree, and I would like more. I would like another Sega, another Dreamcast 2. Bring that back.
Dreamcast 2. Let's see if Sega can actually get back into the console business. But it seems like we can play a lot of their Genesis games just about everywhere. Anyway, let's see. Oh, we have a comment. Oh, my homie Norberto, you're watching. What's up, man? How you doing? What up to you, man? Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, great to see you.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta say what's up to him. He's a big Sega fan, actually. All right. So for our next topic, we're gonna talk about. I guess Nintendo isn't the only company that can have stuff leak. I mean, the last game I can think of, the big game from them that leaked was Metroid Dread. My opinion on Metroid Dread, just play the game. I mean, leak games in general, just play the game. So I mean, if you want to do it, that's your business. I understand why, if you do want to do it, at least for Nintendo. But looks like a build of Horizon Forbidden West, it has leaked online, and images of what was claimed to be from the PS4 version of this game leaked on the social media. They were removed a few hours later due to a report from the copyright holder, which further credits to their legitimacy. So pretty much something did leak. The game's not due out until next month, February 18th, but and you can play it on either your PS4 or your PS5, whatever console you got. But I mean, you gotta. I mean, this game is just bound to leak, right? I mean, if we already saw like images leak, it's just going to be the new thing now, just with at least PS4 games. This is like, this is, to me, this is usually like a Nintendo thing, but I guess they're doing it for.
Well, let's segue properly, right? We talked a lot about physical media being the thing. Notoriously hard to leak something physical, right? Someone has to get into the factory and actually grab one of those discs off the production line. As things get more digital, this stuff is going to happen more and more often, right?
Yeah. I mean, it will happen more often, and that's one thing you got to just watch for in the future. Just digital. You can play it on emulators now. I mean, for example, the Switch emulator, it's a pretty good one. So yeah, just it's pretty. I mean, we can only just wait and see. Hopefully, it doesn't leak. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, I do like to play emulators. I mean, playing retro games on an emulator, or just games that that aren't being made anymore, is one thing. But piracy, especially if the game hasn't come out yet, that's a very serious thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I think when it's older games, it's like you said, it's one thing, but in this situation, it's just kind of messed up. It's really sucks for all those people working on the game, trying to get it as best they can before launch, and then it's released early without them really being able to control, that release, and people could pick it apart and say this or that about it, and it's just not ready. So it's kind of messed up, but it's like it's bound to happen. It's going to happen sometimes, and for I think most people, you don't want it spoiled anyway. So it's for me, it's just an article. It leaked, not looking at anything from it. But the thing that really the problem now is having to avoid spoilers, that might come out of it, that you'll just see in like comments on Twitter or something.
But they're dealing with it well. Like the collective internet being great at controlling copyright and ensuring the things that you don't want it getting out there. It looks like it's very difficult to come across any kind of content from this that could spoil people. It's very easy to avoid, even at the best of times. So hopefully those who are not interested and really want to wait for that finished product are going to be able to. And look, there could be spoilers out there, but do what you can to avoid them. Don't engage in the discussion. And I agree with the idea that the people who have put all the effort to make this game into it don't want to have their unfinished product out there. They want to see the final thing that they've been working on be in its final form and have everybody enjoy that instead. It's a lot better.
And I think the article said that it hasn't really popped up on any file sharing services as of yet.
At least not yet. But
not yet.
Still January.
Right,
it's still January. It's still January.
Yeah, true. But as long as it stays off of file sharing, then it's like, all right, well, someone has it. They I guess want to be able to say, hey, look, I have some kind of connections and I have this thing, but not really sending it out into the world for people to pick apart and share and play for free.
No, not at all.
Do they know how that happened? Was that mentioned?
Doesn't seem to say.
I don't
really
believe so. Nothing. I didn't really.
I gotta say, I do wonder like how that happens in the first place.
Look, people wander around the virtual world and they take a detour on the internet superhighway and they happen to find a warehouse full of stuff they probably shouldn't have found, right? There are people actively trying to break servers and stuff like that. That's probably just how they come across it. When you make a big game like Horizon Forbidden West, you're going to become a target, right? And people know it's possible now because, once again, 5 minutes of fame for Cyberpunk, they got hacked successfully upon release of their game. So people might be trying to look to do the same thing here too. Get a final build, sell it on the black market for the source code, and try and make a quick buck off other people's work.
I'm just trying to figure out like if there's a lesson that can be learned from it, or if it's like, yeah, who cares? Good publicity.
Yep, that's the thing. Gets the word out there, refreshes things. It changes the story from when they were trying to say that you had to pay for the PS5 version and the PS4 separately without having that upgrade path.
Yeah, that was some bullshit. Like, really.
They turned that around pretty quick within.
Yeah,
a day.
well, I mean, the power of social media. I mean, it's done wonders. It's done wonders for that. It's done wonders for video game movies like Sonic the Hedgehog. Just social media is a good thing sometimes, folks. All right, so right now I want to introduce the executive producer of this podcast, OVG Review Gaming himself, Finest Diabs in the house. What's going on, F man? How you doing? You're on mute. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. I can't hear you.
This is the collective cry of the enterprise world over the pandemic period. You're on mute.
Yep.
You're on mute.
I'm always on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We just had some questions from the audience. So Nesco 79 had the question, and he just asked, "Hey, have you guys heard about the new Sega Genesis game?" A little bit more on that. He says there is one pre-order for Metal Dragon. Have any of you guys heard about this?
No, not right
I've
now.
not. Is it like a new release, like a homebrew? That's
That's a great
release?
question. I don't have answers to these questions, but
'Cause I-
Nesco maybe can dive in and provide a little more clarification.
Yeah, deep dive into that a little more. Could send us like a a link or something in the comments, and then yeah, we'll definitely try to answer that. Or if one of you guys want to do a quick Google search, Metal
Yeah.
Dragon.
I know that's something that happened, like with Dreamcast. It happens a lot where there's still people releasing
making
brand
games.
new games
Yeah.
on it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So if it's releasing for Sega Genesis, I'd imagine it's something along those lines. But I haven't heard of it.
yeah. And
Perfect.
Nesco 79 is a big Genesis guy, so he loves his Sega Genesis.
Yep. And let's see. And then there was just also a comment. Let's see. I'm not exactly entirely sure what this was referring to, but Yoshi has aim assist. Let's see. We just wanted to say that he had a question about GTA on Switch question mark, and then he said, I meant GTA 5, but hasn't been ported yet. So that might be in regards to one of your comments that you guys made earlier. But just wanted to give those two people a shout out. Keep your comments coming, and we'll keep them coming to you live. Other than that, I'm out, guys, and I will jump back in later if needed. But have a good episode.
Thank you, F man.
Hey, my pleasure.
So always great to hear from that guy. I wish, yeah, so definitely. But real quick before we move on, GTA 5 to the Switch. Do you guys think it's going to happen?
Nope.
No.
I mean, I never thought about that happening, but I mean, it was originally a PlayStation 3 game, and now you have games like Doom Eternal running on.
Yeah.
Switch.
Did you guys ever see Ark Survival on Switch? I mean, it's not good. It's a port.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Rockstar doesn't seem too worried about releasing quality ports though.
At
as
least
of
right,
late.
not right now. Yeah, I mean, not just for the Switch, but it seems like whatever it's on, it's.
If they can get it in more people's hands, we'll do it.
Yeah, at least until GTA 6. But
Well, the other thing to remember is that the draw for GTA 5 is in fact not 5, but the online service.
Online, right?
yeah, online.
The Switch online service is terrible. How are they going to translate that across to a service where they want to start making a bit more money?
But the OLED has that LAN cable now in the dock, so there's that.
Your neutral internet capacity could be whatever it is, but if Nintendo is the problem there, then
oh yeah. All right. So before we go on to our next topic, Nesco 79 says Kai Magazine Software is a small group of Spanish indie video game developers for retro consoles, retro computers, and PC.
So
Kai
I did
Magazine,
find the article that he's referring to, and
Yeah.
they seem to have done a bit of development and have released it for pre-orders from their magazine website. And it just seems to be a reference to it being a port.
Yeah.
Nothing particularly special, just an old school game from Genesis that's come into something a little bit more forward.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, okay.
And then Yoshi has aim assist. Says GTA 6 won't be released on Switch since it doesn't have enough RAM. Well, we might be with the Switch 2 by the time GTA 6 comes out. So
Switch 3.
or maybe even the Switch 3. Who knows when they're going to come out with GTA 6 at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real with that. All right. So it seems like the Steam Deck is having quite a bit of competition now. Another portable handheld gaming PC, whatever you want to call it, PC handheld, the Ayaneo Next. I hope I said it right. It could rival the Steam Deck with an AMD Ryzen 6000 APU. And yeah, after reading that, that sounds pretty powerful. Looks like it was unveiled at CES 2022 earlier this month. And just I'm reading through this article, and GPU clocks in at 1.8 gigahertz, 200 megahertz, less than Zen 3 Cezanne APU. This thing is looking pretty powerful, and I don't know if you guys the only person I know of who has a Steam Deck pre-ordered is Celine's partner Apollo. Shout out to you guys if you're listening. But do you want to? Are any of you guys looking to get the Steam Deck or even this thing after taking a look at this thing now? I want to know, what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Ooh.
Not particularly.
Yeah,
honest.
not for me. Pass.
Look,
I think it's like an interesting space for them to do, new things and try stuff out. I personally am not, going to be rushing to buy any of these, but I am really curious how Steam Deck does. But I think having, Valve and Steam behind them is a major part of it that this company is going to lack. So it's definitely something that interests me to watch, but I'm not something that I'm planning on buying.
Now,
the thing that interests me most about this is the customizability, right? People who buy this
Yeah.
aren't going to look to have a company to complain to when it doesn't work. And, and something that I heard about very recently is the announcement of new Ryzen chips, the next generation. I think it was going to be the 7000 series to come out. That probably means the CPU design gets cheaper. The nanometer development starts to get smaller, means that it does suit designs like this. But it's going to be people who keep up with manufacturing like that, And a lot of times whenever we brought up the Steam Deck, I talked about being able to use it on the toilet. If you don't want to drop $700 on something so that you can game on the toilet, get one of these for a little bit cheaper, or even make your own. And it's going to be a much more of a value add, I think.
Another possibility I was thinking is if they made like a smartphone that was dedicated to doing gaming, and you could just switch it back to being a regular smartphone when you're done with it or whatever. And so it wouldn't be like, large and cluttering in your pocket.
So there's the Razer phone.
Amazing.
I think.
Yeah.
The
That would be amazing.
The One Pluses are pretty powerful on the Android side of things. I don't know if you guys are in the phones that
they're
like
not
that.
doing so good more recently. A lot of people, because of the way that the company has been acquired, I think it was by Oppo. That doesn't necessarily have a good reputation. They're kind of at the stage of not being the startup that does everything well. They're starting to slowly drift into being the conglomerate that does things as the best bang for their buck and to get the most profit. So OnePlus used to be that, not so much anymore, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, sorry. Well, definitely sorry to hear about that. Well, I mean, hopefully it's another year before I'm on the market for a new Android phone. Well, I mean, we'll see what I get. But I mean, as for me, I think the Steam Deck is a better choice at the end of the day. If I were to choose one, I'd probably just go with the Steam Deck, even though it's not out yet. But I think Valve has more of a reputation, right? I mean, if something breaks, I know where to take it to, right? So just I think they got the right thing going on, and if this does well, who knows? We may see a second Steam Deck. I mean, only time will tell. Let's just see if we get this first wave in our hands, and
I think that's
review
presuming competition, right?
Yeah.
I think if they do the Steam Deck well, that could set them up for the length of a console generation. I think it'd be all right.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, so moving on. We gotta get into Capcom, and looks like they're teasing the new Street Fighter announcements for the franchise's 35th anniversary. I just gotta put this out there, and I know we talked about this last week with Konami. I hope it's not NFTs. But I mean, you never know. But I mean, it looks like they might be teasing a new compilation, or maybe even a new game. Street Fighter, it's been around. That 35 years is a very long time for any franchise. What are you guys' thoughts on what you guys think Capcom might do for the 35th anniversary of the Street Fighter franchise?
It's got to be a game, right?
It got to be a game.
I would imagine that would be the case, but I'm terrible at fighters. I don't really keep up with them. It's sad to watch me play them. So I couldn't tell you what Street Fighter's doing right now, but it's probably a game.
Yeah. Well, in the lead up to big conferences, digital or physical, like Evo, which has been given a new lease on life, I think, and other kind of competitions like that. The Street Fighter world needs a refresh every so often, and I think the last Street Fighter release was quite a while ago. So them teasing something at a celebration about the development of further content is going to be what people want to hear, I think.
Well,
At least fans of the franchise.
Capcom, they did Resident Evil and the Monster Hunter World series. So probably, I mean, if they were trying to like, commercialize everything they're doing, they would probably just have a universe where they bring all of them together somehow.
Wow.
Maybe even Mega Man. Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, maybe bring back the old games.
I mean, they've done like compilations, in the past. We've seen what they've done with Monster Hunter, with Resident Evil, even Mega Man. They've got like a lot of compilations, as we all know, with Mega Man, those legacy collections. But yeah, Street Fighter, I think, is one of their like prize IPs that maybe they announce a new game, maybe they announce something with like some of their other IPs. Who knows? Possibilities are endless. I mean, like I said, do you think they'll go the NFT route though? Like Konami and Castlevania?
Look, I think even if they were thinking about it, they're probably not going to do it. It's been a very, very sour taste in the mouth from NFTs of late. Even more after us talking about it last week. There's been
Yeah.
plenty more stuff that's been coming out about NFTs in a very negative way.
I like it.
Yeah, I feel like Capcom just works so hard to get back to where they're at right now with the Resident Evil remakes and kind of making up for Resident Evil 5 and 6. Not to say that they were bad games, but they were, kind of went astray of what the original games were. And I feel like they worked so hard to bring that back with those remakes and then Final Fantasy remake. So why they don't want to throw that away with something as risky as NFTs right now.
No. I mean, yeah, I know you linked something in our Discord, Matt. Actually gotta check out that link, but I haven't had a chance to yet. But yeah, just NFTs, lot of things are coming out about them, and just like you said, I don't think it'll happen. They'll probably announce a game or some kind of compilation that everyone can buy. Hopefully a new game. I would like to see Street Fighter 6.
Just
what they do with
whatever
it.
you do, don't just prime your hands ready to keyboard warrior your way out of an NFT situation. Like, just let it happen. You might be pleasantly surprised. Wow. Okay.
All right. All right. I'm just playing there. All right. So almost done with the gaming news call outs. We are at the Nintendo Switch now, and it's going to be. Are they going to put out a Pro? I know some of you guys have been holding out that the Nintendo will put out, a Nintendo Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch or something like that, a new iteration, but the same console. Or could they just skip and just go to the Switch 2? An analyst says that, and they see the forecast in late 2024 that they'll just put out the Switch 2, not just. The OLED is the more powerful Switch, with the better battery life, but not yeah, just yeah, but they'll just go to the Switch 2 and no more of this Switch Pro talk. Do they need to put out a Pro, or can they just go to the Switch 2, just make it more powerful? I mean,
I want to hear where that big sigh came from that I heard earlier. I wasn't sure who
it wasn't me. Well, I was talking, so of course it wasn't me.
I mean, typically when there's like a sequel to something, there's almost, I want to say, a little bit of a negative kind of feeling associated with it, like in the sense that maybe it makes the previous one look like it's crap. So
it's always the fear with this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people were so disappointed when the OLED came out, and the only thing that was improved was the battery life and the screen size.
And the
And
Ethernet
still bought
port.
it.
Sorry.
People still bought it. People still bought it.
So I think that's
I
kind
got
of the
one.
benefit.
You got
That's
me.
the benefit when you come up with the Pro or something. It makes it. It still gives you access to everything that you had in the original Switch, and it doesn't make you feel like your games are going to break or something is going to change so dramatically that you're not even going to like know what system you're on anymore or something crazy like that. At
The
least that's
perfect
the experience
example
I've gotten.
being the PS4 Pro, right? Because that didn't change the experience from the PS4. It just added an extra experience for those who wanted to develop for it, with the performance mode or the balanced, and what was the other one? The pretty one. I can't remember, but there was 3 modes for that, right? So is that what you would expect to see, perhaps with what is, in my opinion, unlikely to come, but from a Switch Pro?
I think they should come up with like a Switch X, where you just like literally switch a module out of your thing and you upgrade it immediately. You know, you're not playing something else. You're still on the same device. You've still got all the games you had before. You just have more power now, right? So if you want to upgrade, literally you can upgrade, and you're not like, okay, well, I'm on an old system. Well, cool, but you can upgrade now if you want to, but you don't have to, and you're always playing the games that you've always had.
I really like that, because for maybe the last 5, not 10 years, but quite a few, the idea of a discrete GPU that can be added onto a laptop has been something that people have bought. Because you buy a laptop just like you would buy a Switch, you have to make compromises for the form factor. But if you had something you could plug into that Switch, maybe an improved dock, like you said, the Switch X dock that had an equivalent 3060 in it, and it would bump everything up from 720p in the television to 4K. And all of a sudden, you've got Dread in 4K that they're bragging about being able to get an emulation. Now you can actually get it as a product. I think that is a really. Can we do patents during the podcast? Is that something we can do?
What's your patent, Matt? What's your patent?
Discrete third-party GPU available for the Nintendo Switch dock.
We'll just have you write that up, and we'll get the credit.
Yeah, just write it up. Do it in the Discord. We'll save it, screenshot it, email it to whoever you
I mean,
need
that's
to email to.
I mean, it's kind of what I'm expecting for a Switch 2 is a dock that has, generally the same form factor, maybe some better, hand Joy-Cons and whatnot. But I feel like the major change is going to be something in the dock to boost, home performance. I did not think of them doing that, though, with just selling a dock that can do that with like a current Switch. It would be very interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think I don't think Switch Pro is going to happen, and I think they're going to go to Switch 2.
Yeah,
and I think having a dock that can help boost performance is one of the things that you'll see in it.
So if you want to switch now, guys, you might want to just go for a Switch Lite or an older Switch. If you think that, if you don't want to pay that $350 for a Switch OLED, I mean, well, Ryan, you got one. What are your thoughts on it? Was it worth it?
I mean, I like it. I traded in my old Switch, so it's I didn't pay full price for it necessarily. So it was kind of like an upgrade. And I just spent like an extra $100 for like a better screen. Which it surprisingly does improve the experience when you're playing in handheld mode, which is what I mostly do.
Okay, so it makes sense for you because you mostly play in handheld mode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're playing on TV all the time, then there's no reason to update.
Yeah, I thought about it. I flirted with it, but then it's just like I don't play this thing in handheld mode that much.
Well, let's talk about the new gamer. If you said if they were looking at buying a Switch Lite or a Switch OLED, would you push the OLED to them for a particular reason, or would you say just go for the Lite?
You said for a new gamer?
Yep, someone without a console that they're upgrading. This is 15-year-old whose parents have saved up for a couple of years so they can get their first gaming experience. What are you telling that parent?
If that's the case, then yeah, I mean, I feel like a Lite would do just fine. It's a tough question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it depends if they want to, if they're handheld. Well, they're a new gamer, so it depends if they just want to game on a handheld or if they want to game on the console. And it depends what they like better, at least to me anyway.
Yeah, I feel like in one way of looking at it, you could say, well, if they're a new gamer, maybe they don't know if they're going to play handheld mode or on the TV, and it would be better to go with the normal Switch or the OLED, just so that you have that option. So like, if maybe you discover you do want to take it around, then you have that option. Maybe you do discover that you want it on your big TV, then that option is there. And if you're spending, I don't know what the Switch Lite costs right now, but if you're spending that much on it,
$199, I believe. At
it's
least here in the US.
$199.
Yeah, at least here
And
in the US.
OLED's $350. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough to say. If I'm spending that much money, I think I'd want to go, just pay a little bit more for the better screen. But I think I could very realistically see me saying, a light's fine. And if you're not gaming that much, then you don't need the special screen. And yeah, you don't need the dock. You don't need all that switching. You can just have something to pick up, play for a little bit, and put down. And I think I'd probably lean that way if it's a new game or someone who doesn't really play very much, or they just game on their phone and they're thinking about getting a console of some kind. But for me, I'm not regretting the OLED. I'm enjoying it a lot, and that extra inch of screen helps a lot more than you would think. Once you see it and you're holding it,
especially if they've never had like a Game Boy experience, like probably most of you have experienced the Game Boy just growing up, and chances are the newer generation has never touched a Game Boy in their life.
Leaning it out the car window to get some light.
God, those were the days.
Well, hey, there's a new the new analog Game Boy thing. Yeah, the analog. Yeah, they have a new handheld.
Yeah.
But
I think like luckily I just managed to drag our first bit of consumer advice for the year. I think we were a bit too late for Christmas, but perfect time for birthdays. Knowing that the Switch Pro isn't going to be a thing. Parents, if you're watching and you want to buy it for your kids, the light's fine, but the OLED is great.
Analog Pocket. That's what I meant to say.
Perfect.
Analog Pocket.
Give your kids the Game Boy experience.
Get an Analog Pocket, but chances are they are probably being scalped. And but if you do want a Game Boy, you can get them relatively cheap. They're not very expensive, depending upon what retro game shop you go to. So
these are for the customizers these days. I think get a cheap Game Boy unless you want to keep it completely original experience. You can buy kits to replace the screens and get backlights and do all that stuff. You just have to be willing to pull the pieces apart.
Yeah, definitely.
It might be harder to relate to these days. Like I feel like the Nintendo Switch OLED version is sufficient to replace what was our Game Boy experience growing up, and that will bring them back to kind of what we experienced. I think that's close enough in my opinion, but it's just.
Well, to answer your before we go on to our next topic, to answer your question from earlier, Matt, I guess I'm kind of along the lines of Ryan. I got two answers to your question. Pretty much, if it's a new gamer who wants to get into gaming hardcore, they want to like stream or do anything like that, definitely I would tell them just get the Switch OLED, just go all the way for it. You save money as you go for like with the accessories and all that stuff, but especially if you want to go back and forth between handheld and TV, I would recommend the OLED. But if you're just trying to be casual, play it 1-2 times a week. Play Mario Kart with your friends, be done. The light's also a good option. But speaking of Nintendo and the Switch, we're going to stay on that topic because apparently it reached a milestone according to VG charts. Excuse me. It passed the Wii in total units sold, and you know what that means? It is Nintendo's highest selling console ever. I gotta say console because technically, in terms of hardware, we know the Game the Game Boy or the DS family. It's like the high. I want to say it's I think the DS is the highest. I could be wrong. I'd have to pull up the list, but yeah, it is. The Switch is officially Nintendo's best-selling console ever after one of its worst-selling consoles ever, which was the Wii U. Um, I'll admit, when I first saw the preview for the Switch coming out in 2017, I'm like, here we go again. Let's see what they do now because I did not buy a Wii U. I had a Wii, but then it's just like the Wii U came out, and I was just, not. I demoed it. I wasn't very impressed. I have a Wii U now. I got it. I got it used a while ago, but I wasn't going to drop all that money for the Wii U, and it never went down in price mainly because that gamepad that's still, believe it or not, what kept the price of the Wii U up. So that's one reason why I never got a Wii U, and my wife was even like surprised too, like, how come you don't have a Wii U yet? I'm just like, I don't want one. So but with the Switch, I feel just I hadn't been to the stores to really demo it like when it first came out. I mean, I saw previews. I watched just watched it on the news, saw the launch. I know a friend of mine actually bought it on the launch. She lined up for it and she got it, and I was like, wow, it must be good. And Breath of the Wild was very good also. But the one thing that sucked me back into going back to Nintendo again, at least their consoles, was Super Mario Odyssey. I demoed it at a Target one morning, and I was just like, what the hell? This game is awesome. I gotta get this thing, and got it for my birthday later on that year, and just been playing it ever since. I don't regret it not one bit. I think it's a great console, and we all bash on it how much more powerful it could be, but really think about it. This is Nintendo's best-selling console ever, and it's only going up. They don't have to put the Switch 2 out right away. If you really think about it, they could just keep riding the coattails of this thing. Maybe we'll pass the Game Boy, the DS, maybe even the PS2. I know that's a long shot, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it will pass the PlayStation and the PS4 eventually. But I've spoken enough. What are your thoughts?
I, not being a Nintendo fanboy myself, I did have played the Game Boy in the past. I've played it every so often. Nintendo 64. Never owned a serious Nintendo console from that point. So I'm going to be the devil's advocate. I'm going to be starting to poke and prod some holes in this thing because I'd love to hear the fancy debate and discussion. So a cynical person would say there are more people on the planet that both have access to the console and also there's more people to buy them, right? So it would make sense that as time goes on, there's going to be bigger and bigger sales of a product. The question that I would really like to know the answer to is how long the Wii was sold to reach the number that it did, and if the Switch took longer or a shorter amount of time to reach that number. Do any of you know that?
Finance, you want to Google that? Maybe. I know you hear me in the background.
I think the Wii was 7 years before the Wii U came out.
Yeah, so, 2013, I want to say. There's when the Wii U came out.
So I think Switch is there faster than the Wii.
Yeah, it definitely. If it was,
I think it's like 2 years ahead.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's a new form factor console, right? The same as the DS. It was something a little bit different from the norm, and they were trying to disrupt it a little bit. Now this is cumulative consoles, right? We're talking about combination of the Switch
and the Switch Lite,
Switch Standard, Switch Lite, but not including the OLED. Is that right?
No, it includes everything.
I think it would include the OLED, yeah.
Yeah, it would include everything. So
if they release like a Switch Pro, I feel like it could maybe hit PS2. Yeah. If they just keep going with these new versions. But I think that's the only way it's going to hit that, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, so I mean, they would have to do like a Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch like they did, with the new 3DS, because the new 3DS and the 2DS is all part of the 3DS family.
Is it? I thought they were counted differently, but I could be mistaken there.
No, they weren't. No. So yeah, I mean, they would have to do that too. But if they do like a Switch 2, like a totally different console, then it would start all over. But if they do ride the coattails, then maybe it would catch the PS2.
Well,
I
let's look
mean,
at the DS, right? That was
mhm.
a constant hardware cycle
Oh
that
yeah,
changed very
a lot,
regularly, right?
a lot.
Plenty of
Yeah.
times. They could look at it and do the very same with the Switch. They have seen success, I presume, with the OLED being sold and like an extremely minute improvement in the experience. However good that experience is, Ryan, like you said, that bigger screen is just, it makes the experience a whole lot better. But if those small increments are a life cycle they can see lasting for the next 5 to 10 years, they may not just have to sit on this console for the length of time until they come up with the Switch 2. They might have plans to release tiny increments of this console over time and perhaps reduce the price over time to ensure they can sell more units. And then we've got the bigger pile of Switch units, but still selling to the same people. Do you see cynically what I'm driving at here?
I don't know if that's what
I
Nintendo
guess.
would do though. I mean, because if you look at
No.
like you think about the Wii selling as well as it did, and they go to the Wii U. So the Wii was a crazy success all over. Grandmothers are playing it, and they still decide to update and push into a new direction anyway. And I don't know why they call it the Wii U and make it confusing and make it seem like it's
Yeah.
the same console. But I think then they saw that they were successful, but if they wanted to keep things up, they had to release something new. So I think now you could see them thinking in the same way, where it's like the Switch is extremely successful, but we still need to move on to stay on top and to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I have my theories on the Wii. I think one of the reasons why it did so well, especially in the beginning, because remember they were pretty hard to get in the beginning, but um, besides being sold on a gimmick, I mean, like you said, Ryan, grandmas playing them. I mean, it was before smartphones became like the Wii was out before the iPhone, so I think it was just like just a little pastime for people to do. Everyone went out and got a Switch, and then when the smartphones got popular in 2007, people just put it down. They pretty much just played Wii Sports, Wii Fit, whatever, and never touched the thing again. Wii Play, they didn't play like any Mario games or any of the other games that came on the system. And then I see what Nintendo was trying to do with the Wii U, but I mean, well, one, I think they confused the hell out of people. People didn't even know that it was its next console. They thought it was like an add-on to the Wii. I mean, if you remember the E3 announcement for it, and then just if you ever saw a commercial for the Wii U, it was marketed horribly. They were just marketing to like families and kids, and I think they turned it
That's the
around with the
Nintendo
Switch.
philosophy. That's the
Well,
Nintendo philosophy, right? That's exactly why there won't be a GTA 5 on Switch, I think.
Well, no, I think
Family
I
oriented.
think it's possible, but I think they turned it around with the Switch, where it's like you saw the first promo for it. You didn't see like a family playing the Switch in front of their TV. You saw like young adults like
On
socially playing the
rooftops.
Switch. Yeah, on rooftops.
Well, it
Yeah,
wasn't
so
grandmas and grandchildren playing together. It was millennials.
yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, they had to market it somewhere, and like I said before, the Wii U was marketed horribly. So, I mean, I think they woke up and smelled the coffee there. So, you got to give Nintendo a little bit of credit. They did something right with the Switch. I mean, am I right? I mean, maybe
I
it's
think,
a.
I
Oh
think they did
yeah,
a lot right.
yeah, definitely. I agree with their family friendly philosophy. They're a lot more family friendly than their competitors. In fact, I don't think the other ones are really family friendly at all in some sense. I mean, they have some pretty violent games. That's pretty much their target. Target.
One of the demos on the PSVR
Yeah.
when it first came out was that kawaii 18 plus see a schoolgirl in a house kind of thing, or was that the Oculus?
So I don't see, myself, I have she's almost 2. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I don't see myself, giving her a gift that's violent anytime soon. So probably, if I was going to get a gift for her and try to get her into the gaming world, I would get her a Switch. That's probably what I would do, and it's really, that's how it sells itself. Even if the ads are maybe not quite as like kid oriented as maybe some of the previous consoles, such as the Wii or the Nintendo 64. I think that is the goal, is to try to make it appear friendly to the family, and I really like that philosophy about Nintendo. For that reason, I think that no matter what move they do, they'll be winning in the console world.
I think Sony and Microsoft also like that Nintendo's doing that, because it's what gets them their next generation of gamers.
Yeah.
They
Oh yeah,
get
it keeps
in.
them unique.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely.
But it also makes them cutthroat to each other.
Well, I mean, Microsoft has already said that, they don't really view, Nintendo as competition. Now, I don't know if that was a compliment or insult, but, just like one thing I've realized, like with these companies, I don't think one is trying to put the other out of business. Otherwise, that would have already happened. But I mean, I think these are the three main companies here to stay in terms of, making consoles. Unless something else comes out of nowhere. Well, Google tried with the Stadia, but we all saw how that's doing. But but I mean, otherwise, I mean, I think it's incredible. I'm curious to see how much further Nintendo can get with the Switch. I think, like I said, like you said, Ryan, if they do the Switch Pro, then it might catch the PS2. But I mean, I think it will catch the PS4. Though I think it can catch, the DS, DS family of systems, the Game Boy family of systems. It'll definitely pass the PS1 because it's just pretty much right there with the
Yeah.
one. So it's gonna pass the PS1. It's just a matter of when. Probably maybe next month. Who knows?
I got a thought. It just occurred to me. Like, what would you guys think about a console? Like, what if like these three major companies got together and decided to make one console that unified all three? What would you guys think of that?
That's
We've
terrible.
already got a patent. We don't need to patent anything else.
Yeah. What's next? One company making all the games. I mean, it would be nice, but we just know it's never going to happen. But it would be
I
nice,
think,
I guess.
I think we're thinking about the Star Trek style utopia where people don't have jobs they don't like. They only do the things that they want to do. There's replicators that create food, like the perfect society. I think that's the kind of console we're talking about there. But
And Microsoft wouldn't want it even to be a console; it'd just be a service.
People like that option. I think they like to choose, and I think, yeah, sometimes imperfection's actually advantageous. We want to see the humanity in things. We don't want to just have one choice and that's it.
And monopoly, like everything in technology.
That's a scary thought, by the way.
Yeah, that is very scary. Absolutely. Definitely. Just, I mean, I wouldn't want to see. I mean, I think it's, like I said, I think it's healthy for the industry that we have these different companies. I mean, like it would be a person's dream to have one console that played all the games, or have one company that made all the games. But I mean, I like choices. Just if I don't like what Nintendo's doing, just see what Sony's doing, see what Microsoft is doing.
I gotta say, like in some sense, Nintendo does have a monopoly on the family-friendly console, right? I mean, there is no other one. So just food for thought.
Well, I mean, I guess I think it does come down to the games at the end of the day. I do think there are companies out there, that are putting out family-friendly games, like, Super Lucky Tail. I mean, I think that's a, nice kid family game. Sega still does it, with Sonic the Hedgehog, Yeah.
I think Sony's really trying to, doing all they can to get into that market and to win over more younger people.
I think maybe Ratchet and Clank. That's like the closest I've seen them come.
Well, Ratchet being a launch game for the PS5 is one, them going in a family, shows them going in a family route. But also there was Sackboy's Big Adventure.
Yeah, that was a good family one. That's a fun game.
Is it? I was thinking about getting it eventually, but I feel like it's going to be a PlayStation Plus game eventually. So I'm kind of just waiting for that.
I would hold out for either a price cut or see if it comes to PlayStation Plus eventually.
Definitely not spending $30 on it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good game. I mean, I haven't beaten it, but definitely I put a decent amount of time into it. If you love 3D platformers, you'll love it. So I mean, they do have their share of family games, just not as much as Nintendo, unfortunately. But
I think their next big one is Astrobot, because if you played the the PS5 Astrobot, that
that was fun.
Astro's Playroom.
Astro's Playroom, right?
That was fun. That was fun.
That, and it shows off the DualSense, haptics really well, but it's almost like they're Mario in a sense. Not to say it's as good as Mario, but it's definitely going in that direction and trying to kind of capture a little bit of that magic.
Yeah.
And the VR, Astrobots VR, I don't know what that one was called, but that was a similar thing. And playing that in VR and it being designed specifically for VR, that was like, this is like a great thing to hold up and say, like, this is what VR can be. And it's almost like how Super Mario 64 kind of showed the way of how to make a 3D platformer. Like, it was almost like that game in VR was like, here's how you can make a platformer in VR, and how Astrobot Rescue Mission, yes, that's what it's called. It showed how, like, you can utilize moving your head and leaning around corners to see where you're moving. Great game. But I think that company, I think it's Japan Studios. I could be wrong there. I think Sony's trying to leverage them to kind of be their family friendly game and kind of show that, hey, you don't need a Switch. You can get a PlayStation. Everyone can play it. The older people in the family can play the more mature games. And then we also have Astrobot and Sackboy and Ratchet. So I think Sony desperately wants that, but it's just, they're competing with Nintendo, which is just really strong competition.
They've got a long history, and
definitely. But
I think it's really interesting to bring up the games that sell this, though, because the gaming industry has changed significantly, even though it still exists as what we expect it to be. Because there's tons of indies out there that can focus a console in a way if the right consumers are only going for that product. When you started talking about, playful platformers that are age appropriate, I thought of Unravel as one that was a really good emotional experience. It's about a child, going through a child's memories of their family and when they used to go on a holiday to their grandparents or something like that. That's not one that you'd attribute to anything particular. I think it was an EA endorsed indie production, but I correlate that with the PlayStation for whatever reason. So it's interesting the connections we can make as gamers with the specific games we see on a console. Like PlayStation sometimes is the RPG console, the JRPG console for people. Whereas these days you probably couldn't argue that.
And they'll pay for exclusive rights to implant that idea.
The Dark Souls console.
The Dark Souls consoles.
Right.
Yeah, well, definitely. So, I mean, let's Nintendo, congratulations on the Switch. Hopefully you sell more consoles until you announce the Switch 2, because even if they do announce the Switch Pro, it'd be part of still the Switch sales.
I think before we shuffle along, there was one of the comments in our chat this week that said that the third option after the OLED would be the Switch XL, which I've just been thinking about the last little while. I think would be really interesting to have like the iPad tablet style, where they went from the 6 or 7 inches all the way up to 11 and 12. Having a Switch that big in front of your face seems unusual, but for people with accessibility issues, I think releasing a console like that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think about it for accessibility, but that would be huge for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, just thought I'd make mention of that.
And it's not like the Switch is something that you're putting in your pocket, It is something that you can put in a bag anyway,
Yeah, backpack, definitely. I mean, I wish I had it back during my adolescent years.
Another untapped market. Where are the Switch pants?
Switch pants.
Switch pants.
Where's the pants with the Switch-enabled pocket? You just slide that thing in.
They went from the Wii to the Wii U, so they could go from the Switch to the Switch pad.
Yeah, Switch pad. Like, we'll call it Switch pad. I actually just meant pants. That you can just put your Switch into as you walk around.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah, man. But yeah, for the most part, all right. But definitely let's stick on the subject of consoles. We'll start with Microsoft. They have seized all production on Xbox One consoles, all of them. I believe the last one they were making was the one I have, the Xbox One S, which I would recommend anyone getting if you're in the market for an old Xbox One console. I definitely wouldn't recommend the original one, or maybe if you can get it for a cheap price, the Xbox One X. But I mean, I'd recommend the One S because that's a good console. I think it's the right size. They got it right with the One S, in my opinion.
How much are they going for at this point?
I
you
believe
know?
they're still going for about $300, but that so yeah,
Because the
$299 if you can
Series
find
S
it.
is
Yeah, because the Series S, I mean, if it's the same price, then it's just like, I mean, you're
but
pretty
you
much
can
just paying
get
for
it,
the
right?
disc drive. Yeah, if you can get it. Yeah,
but
You can
Series
get
S
the One
is
S.
much more available than
it's
X.
it's easier to
I've
get.
seen them in stores.
Like during Black Friday, I think I sent a picture to you guys when I was in a Target. Like I could have had one Black Friday if I really wanted one. But I think with my new gaming rig that I recently got, I think my wife would kill me. But so of course I didn't bite that bullet. But I mean, for the most part, back to the One S. I mean, I game on Xbox Game Pass with it. So far so good. I mean, it's like part of me kind of can't tell the difference if I'm actually gaming on a Series S or one, because I use the Game Pass feature for it anyway. So I think it's pretty cool. But I mean, if I want to get those physical games, like for example, like with I'll use Forza Horizon 5. You buy the game. It says Xbox One or Xbox Series on it, so you can use it on either console. So I mean, you just go with that for the most part. So if you can find a one Xbox One S, definitely try to find one.
But why would you, right? Like, I
Yeah, I
think
feel like
Why would
part
you?
of the reason that Microsoft has done this is because, as I think it was Ryan that mentioned it earlier, they're looking to games as a service more than they are the hardware. I think they got PCs.
Yeah,
Microsoft
I
make
think
computers.
yeah, I think they're going towards PC. That was my vibe in the past couple of years that they've been trying to migrate. In fact, they've been doing all this stuff with Xbox for Windows 11. I heard actually have Windows 11, and
Oh,
that's what I'm
How is
using right
that?
now. It's just like Windows 10. It just looks a little different. I mean,
looks cleaner.
few graphic changes. Yeah, it's just like anything else. It's like they changed some graphics, but
I think I'll wait
behaves the
on
same
it.
way. Actually, I take that back. Did have some issues with it. Like the start menu didn't work.
right in the middle, right?
But I think they were probably working out their bugs.
I'll stick with 10 until I'm told to go to 11.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. I don't use that for my main system. That's just my laptop. So
Okay. Yeah, like if you're PC gaming, I think they still recommend you
yeah,
use Windows 10, right?
Windows 10 all the way.
All right, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
And that's Microsoft, right? So that's
Yeah.
that's as far as I'm concerned, that is my Xbox.
And look, talking about Windows 11, the Android component being included with that too for Android emulation, that could easily translate across to games. And all of a sudden, you've got, all your peanut butters and your chocolates mixing together, and you've got something awesome. Like, I don't think they would be sweating that they're stopping production on those older Microsoft consoles. Xbox. Sorry, Phil Spencer keeps saying Xbox is different to Microsoft, right?
Right. That's what he wants us to think. All right, but definitely. I mean, like I said, I didn't get a Xbox One S until late in this cycle. So I mean, and I got it on the cheap too. So I'm very happy. Maybe I probably should start collecting some more games for it.
But what
But
else did you buy?
what in terms of games or?
You bought a PC,
Oh yeah, I bought a
brand new PC.
PC, brand new PC. So I should probably start utilizing that. But so I don't think I'm getting the Xbox Series anything anytime soon. But definitely. I mean, Xbox One, it's been real. but maybe within the next 10 years we'll see prices explode for them and people may want them again. Who knows?
I was just in Target the other day and there was 2 Series X's sitting on the shelf. It was the first time I saw them.
Series
in store.
X's. Series X's. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. I actually ended up getting one for my brother.
Yeah, they're
Again,
going like
not
hotcakes.
gifting it to him. He paid for it, but picking it up for him.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no. I'm not
There's a lot
that
of
nice.
stories out there now about scalpers starting to have to drop the prices because
Yeah.
maybe the market's getting
Yeah.
flooded now.
Yeah.
Yeah, last I checked, some were going for like $650, which is
That's not much of a markup in my opinion. To put all that money out, and
yeah.
especially if it's taking you months to sell them. Sometimes I think scalpers, maybe way too long, or they just straight up miss, and they think they can get it for like a higher price, but
Or all the whales have already bought at the massive, overwhelming prices.
Mhm.
And now the lower tiers in the socioeconomic scale are looking to get them and they can't sell them for the prices they did earlier.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I think us as consumers, and I think for the most part, we have been strong. I talk to people all the time saying, like, I still game on my PS4. Like, I'm not paying those outrageous prices. And good, I mean, we all know how I feel about scalping. Just don't pay them.
Yeah.
don't pay them.
Just follow some people on Twitter who will give you notifications as soon as they
Yeah.
go live. That's
Yeah,
how I ended up getting 2 PS5s, one for my brother. I didn't scalp it. Yeah, you just turn on notifications for Twitter, and as soon as they went up, you're right there and you're waiting for it. And you might, I did it for like a month, so you do have to kind of keep up with it. But if you can, do that, it's possible. It's just very difficult. But it's better doing that than spending an extra $200.
Yeah, definitely. Well, even though that the Xbox One S, or not One S, but the Xbox One is, not being made anymore, apparently Sony is still going to be producing PS4s for a little bit longer than anticipated, and which tells you that one, the PS5 is selling better than the Xbox Series X, S or S. So, for the most part, it's revealed in this article here that because they can't produce that many PS5s, they have decided to extend the life of the PS4. So who knows how many more?
I think it's a fallacy to say that they're selling the PS5 well, though.
Yeah, they are selling it well. They just can't produce enough of them.
But
Yep.
them continuing to create the PS4 would
Mhm.
surely imply that they intend to keep producing products for the
Yeah.
PS4, not just
Yeah.
so they can keep selling more consoles, right?
Well, maybe. I mean,
But,
maybe.
I mean, they got 2 games. They got 2 major games coming out this year that will be for the PS4. So them producing them for another year, I think, makes sense. But I think the reason for it does seem to me that the PS5 does seem to be selling better than the Series X. I mean, I just saw 2 on the shelf, Series X the other day. I mean, I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it seems like you're starting to see them pop up on shelves, whereas PS5 not so much. But it doesn't matter that much either way. It comes down to just how much they can produce of each one. I'm sure that those even with the Series X's popping up on shelves, they're gone. In a matter of hours after they put them out. So, yeah, I think this is kind of upsetting for me because, it's kind of messed up for me to say it, but it's like now that I have my PS5, it's kind of like, all right, give me the games that are taking full advantage of it. But I understand it's a lot of people don't have it. It's hard to get. So they got to, move certain games to being cross-gen. And this just makes it seem like that cross-generation might last even longer.
Yeah. A lot
which
longer
makes-
than we thought. A lot longer.
Right. Which makes sense from a business standpoint. And, for people who want to play God of War Ragnarok, I'm happy for them. But it is kind of disappointing in a way that it'll take even longer before we really see the full potential of these next-gen consoles.
Yeah, it is going to take a while, and it sucks. It makes me think that I got my PS5 a little too soon, but at the same time, I mean, I don't regret the purchase at all. I mean, I feel eventually later on down the line it will be worth it. It's just right now, just I think COVID came, I mean, I'll just go back to what I said last year. I think this console, along with the Xbox Series X and S, they came out too early. I mean, they should have waited until, I mean, at least late last year or maybe even this year. I mean, if they're still going to be in this situation, but I think with Microsoft pulling the trigger, Sony was going to do the same thing. They weren't going to let them one up each other. So it's like, if one was going to do it, who was going to throw the first punch? Microsoft did, then Sony just followed suit. Like, all right, we're going to release this.
Yeah.
It's sorry, I'm negative Nelly as well as the educator today. It's
Educator.
it's not that simple. Like, they had developers first party and third doing production, sometimes exclusively for a brand new console. And if Sony turned around and said, sorry guys, we're releasing the PS5 next year, you guys are just going to have to hold on to your product and you can't release it until we release that console. Like, that's a lot of the economy of the industry impacted by stuff like that. Even though the landscape looking at it, they probably, in retrospect, would have wished they'd waited until they had a confluence of things like a launch product like Halo Infinite coming out a year later for a console that it was meant to come out at the same time as. But, it's just the way that things go. And the other thing that I immediately thought of is the fact that God of War 2018 has just come out on PC as well. Sony is having a brief look, like just a glancing look at the PC market for their games too, just to see how they perform.
That's a very good point. I'm actually looking at purchasing that game myself, God of War.
Oh, it's so
Great
good.
game.
Especially if you enjoyed it before, like the graphic fidelity, even on very low tier stuff.
I never played it, but I had a friend who has recommended it to the nth degree, and it sounds cool.
All right,
Such a good game.
Yeah,
But
it's a must play for sure.
Yeah, but Sony looking at that at the PC as well and going, perhaps like secondary market, but it's another place for us to start not having to sell hardware to be able to sell games.
And when it's like those games have stopped really selling on the PlayStation ecosystem anyway, why not give them a little bit of extra fuel right at the end?
And they just dropped the bangers. God of War was a great one. What's going to come up next? Horizon Zero Dawn was released last year. Like,
so maybe you play those games. What's that?
I bought the Horizon Zero. I actually had it on PS4 as well. But when they sold it on PC, I was sold because I'm like, I like this game. It's a good game. I don't use my PS4 anymore. I want it in my Steam collection. I just do, and it's on sale. Like, it just doesn't make sense for me not to have it this way.
It's exactly how I felt about God of War.
Oh, definitely.
You might have some people who are playing on PC who don't have a PlayStation 4 or 5 that they play God of War and they go, all right, now I want to play Ragnarok, but I got to wait a year for that to happen. Maybe I will just get a PS5. This way I can play all their exclusives right when they come out and not have to wait.
Sony definitely knows what they're doing.
I will say this, though. The reason I got a PS4 is because of Horizon Zero Dawn. That's my secret.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It is a great game.
I also played.
I know you heard.
I was it's cool, I guess. But Horizon Zero Dawn, when I played it,
I know it's one of Finest's favorite games. Horizon Zero Dawn. I know he's probably just like saying yes in the background right now. Definitely.
There are a lot of good ones on that PS4 cycle, though. There's a reason they did so well.
All right, so anyway, definitely PS4 is here to stay a bit longer. All right, so moving on to the release rundown, then we're going to get into what we're playing. So the release rundown for this week, Shadow Man Remastered, which is already out. It's coming to Switch on January 17th. What else is coming out? Nobody Saves the World coming to the Xbox Series XS, Xbox One, PC, January 18th. Also on the 18th is River City Girls for the PS5, a game that is already out. Expeditions Rome for the PC. Paparazzi. That's an interesting game for Xbox Series XS, Xbox One, PC. January 20th. Also January 20th, Rainbow Six Extraction for the PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Stadia, and PC. We got Windjammers 2 coming to the PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, Stadia, and the PC January 20th. Two more games on January 21st. We got Baby Storm, which is coming to Switch, and Mousecraft, a game that is already out, which is coming to the Xbox One, which I'm pretty sure you can also play on the Xbox Series X or S if it's available digitally. I don't know. I guess you'd have to check the store or whatnot. Any of these games y'all are looking forward to?
I think we need to mention, and I could be wrong here, please correct me, but I think Rainbow Six Siege is making its way to Game Pass at some point.
All
And
right.
the
I
release
think
of Extraction.
I know they've been releasing a lot of games to Game Pass, this month. So I'd have to look at it. I can definitely catch it on the next show. But yeah, just
Oh
keep
no,
it.
not saying that you missed
Oh,
something. Just
okay.
like I keep hearing things like that. It could point to Rainbow Six having another big surge again.
Is Extraction I could be way off here, but did they have a deal with the day one release on Game Pass?
Yeah. Rainbow Six Siege, according to this, is available now with Game Pass and will be available starting in January 20th on the PC. Okay. So
Yeah, I think not sure about this portion because it's like an expansion, right? It's like
yeah,
its own little
I think it's
sub-story.
I believe it's just an expansion. I don't think it's a brand new game or anything like that.
Extraction?
Extraction.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of no, it wasn't. This was originally supposed to be called Quarantine, and they changed the name.
Yes, that's why I had trouble remembering the name a little bit. Yeah,
I thought this was a
that's what
whole
this is.
new game. I didn't know this was just an expansion to Rainbow Six Siege.
Let me fact check myself very quickly, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Because I thought I heard Extraction was coming to day one Game Pass, but that could be just through Siege. Because I thought Ubisoft and Microsoft just announced some kind of deal there with Game Pass.
Yes, I can now confirm day one release with Game Pass, and it is very much what we're talking about. That experience with the new enemies, the pow around corners with the gunk guns and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Interesting.
How funny they should change it from Quarantine to Extraction. That would be, it's almost like they read the room.
Sounds good. Any aside from Rainbow Six, any of these other games that anyone should be on the lookout for or should try out?
Maybe Paparazzi. I just did a quick look for it there. It's basically Pokemon Snap for puppies.
I was thinking more. What is it? Mousecraft reminds me of that old puzzle game. I don't think I ever had it. Maybe I played it once. Mousetrap.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like that. I definitely do want to give that a try. Maybe not on the Xbox One, but just wherever else I can find it. It looks like a nice little puzzle game. And then Finest says River City Girls, which is I guess a sequel to River City Ransom, the old NES classic. So definitely, if you guys have not played that yet, it's coming to PS5. It's already available on other consoles. But if you haven't played River City Girls, that's also nice beat 'em up there. I guess the girls are trying to find the guys that kidnapped their boyfriends or something like that. So kind of a cute game. Any other games that people should be on the lookout for, or people should want to buy, or
Are we talking strictly console?
no, any of the games, PC, the Expeditions Rome. If you have any opinion on that, just any of the games on this list.
I'm not really
gonna be honest.
familiar with.
I think this is like the little teaser. This is the appetizer before we get the massive onslaught of games to come starting next month.
Yeah,
I like to got Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, February. Yeah, I think these release rundown segments are going to be a little bigger, or longer rather. But definitely. But it's always good. I mean, we are the Game and Watch podcast. No game left behind. At least we try not to.
Wow.
All right. So
great tagline.
All right. So if that's done with that one, we're going to get into what we are playing. I know you guys mentioned this a little earlier on the show, but what are we playing? If you want to get into more what we were talking about earlier, or if there's another game you would like to mention, now is the time.
Oh, God of War PC.
God of
Has to
War,
be the
yeah,
one.
yeah. I saw you playing that on the Discord when I went on there. Like, oh yeah, he's playing. Yeah, God of War. That's one of his favorites, man. They really
Yep.
need to get that Discord integration with the PlayStation and the Switch. I know the PlayStation integration is coming very soon, but yeah, Switch. I mean, I think they could probably do their voice chat for the Switch if Nintendo would let them, but who knows? But yeah, I know you were definitely playing God of War on PC, and
Yep.
it's
And I loved
just
it. Still, it's the graphical fidelity is something that you don't expect from a game like this. Because in 2018, released with the base PS4 available, you have to imagine that the graphical fidelity would have improved significantly, and it definitely has. But they've done something that you don't expect with this one, where you've got the original console experience, which was great. I mean, it might have turned your base PS4 into what sounded like an airplane taking off, but it was still pretty good. But they have a high and an ultra experience, at least for my graphics card, which is a GTX 1660 Ti, which is definitely not the best of the best. Uh, on the high setting, I've got a very smooth, almost 60 frames per second, exquisite quality. And I shared an article on the Discord recently about one of the gaming journalism companies, can't remember which one, just tried it with a plain Ryzen 7, I think it was a 5600G, and they just used the integrated graphics to run this thing. And it was okay, but it still ran. You don't expect a PC release in 2021 to run on integrated graphics. So they've done something really unique, I think, with the release here. And they've made it accessible to a wider audience, which is what you want, especially anticipating the release of Ragnarok coming in the next couple of weeks. I think it'll push some sales. And I love it.
And you love it, yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I know. Have you beaten it again yet, or how far are you into the game?
No, probably a few hours in. But
Uh,
this is one of those games that's built incredibly well because not only does it have open world elements,
mhm.
but the cinematics and the linear elements are there too. I'm someone who likes to take my time with these. I will run around the world and collect as much as I can, fight things, look for side quests, and do those before I move on to the next stage in the story. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely take my time with this, particularly because I want to enjoy it. Right? I'm not going to be speed running this thing. I've dropped 75 Australian dollars. Yeah, 75 Australian dollars on this thing,
Wow.
buying it for a second time, which I will do for games that I love. Final Fantasy X is one of those. I want to take my time and enjoy this thing. Also, I've been in a bit of a lull with games at the moment, so trying to find something that I definitely want to play that will release my brain from feeling like it has to work hard. Just sitting down with a bit of God of War, experiencing that father-son relationship, how it grows, and the Norse mythology thing is just, it's come at the perfect time for me. But at the same time, I'm also playing Satisfactory,
Again.
which is hard work. And it's almost never again. Like, it's a little bit different every time you play it. But I did need something relaxing to sit back in with. So all that talk of Coffee Stain Studios earlier in the podcast was right on the money for me this week. Satisfactory is a really good one. I'd recommend to others as well.
I've never heard of this one, Satisfactory.
Yeah, I just picked this one up myself. I haven't really put much time into it. It looks very involved. I mean, not too involved, like not like Ark Survival involved, but it does look like something that you have to spend some time in learning the nuances, and ultimately, you have to invest time in it. That's all I can say.
But the thing about it that's great is it doesn't rush you.
Mhm.
You know, there's no timed element to it. There's no.
It looks like a beautiful game too, by the way. I have to say,
great.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it definitely looks great. I definitely do want to try it eventually on PC, unless it comes console. So I didn't make it
I'm
on
getting
there. Who
some
knows?
Initial
like
impression,
No
by the way,
Man's
is
Sky
awesome.
vibes.
Yeah.
Initial
It
impression
looks
is
like
very
that.
awesome.
It looks like No Man's Sky, but it's not really. Like the premise of the game is that you're a pioneer for the Fix-It company, placed on a planet to do the most efficient thing to collect resources. And the resources that you can see on screen if you're watching the stream at the moment, You collect resources from the environment, use those to build items, and then as the game progresses and you unlock tiers, you use the items you just made to produce even more items, and then even more and even more. The only goal is to keep making more and more things. But at the
So you're
same
like building
time,
cities here, it seems.
Yeah.
you don't have to though. Like you can be completely Spartan and efficient, and this is what the community calls spaghetti, where you've got your conveyor belts that aren't organized very well. They just kind of, this thing connects to this thing, and you end up with what looks like a big bowl of spaghetti. Some people are really motivated to build architecture with it, and that's something that they built with the recent upgrade, that you can build entire cities with it. You can build with signs. They've got lighting systems in there now, so you can create environments with red and LED lighting. It's the capacity of this game to meet your needs while not pressuring you to do absolutely everything is just it's the perfect combination.
And is this PC only?
It is currently, yes.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll
Yeah, it
come
looked like one
console
of those-
side later on.
Yeah. Because I'm interested in it. I like what I'm seeing, but it was also like this looks like a PC game that I'm not going to be able to play.
Yeah, and look, it's also got great save states. It doesn't. There is actually complaints about the autosave, that there are sometimes graphical hitches when it does the autosave. You're very unlikely to lose progress. So whether you do 6 hours in a row or if you do half an hour at a time, it's going to suit whatever your situation is. And this is again one of those times where I pull out my Epic Store game amount of time played on games. This is the only thing that beats Hades for me at 14 days, 5 hours, and 26 minutes. So I played a lot of this game because there's a lot to be played, and it's really enjoyable.
They switched. I don't know. They switched actually. Technically, they added themselves to the Steam platform as well. So
Yeah,
you can pick it up there, and that's actually where I picked it up myself.
Yeah. And they've actually got online servers that you can do now too. They're not run by Coffee Stain, but you can have online servers running, so you can do multiplayer with other people and not just do it locally on a network or peer-to-peer with Log Me In or something like that. They've just unlocked so much with this game. Definitely give it a go. And if you do it on Steam, you've got your 2-hour window to figure out if you like it or not to do your return as well. So maybe that's a good way to go.
Yeah, very good selling point, by the way. A lot of people buy games just for that reason.
Yeah. Well, look, odds are it's a game that you just can't play for 2 hours and figure out whether you like it or not. If it was me, I would say make sure it's an amount of money that you're happy to spend, because you'll either bounce off it immediately, maybe after a few more hours than 2, but you could very easily start your gameplay at 7 p.m. after dinner and then find it's 3 a.m. and be like, hang on, oh God, did I just have a great time?
You just get so much into it, yeah.
Yeah, you do get sucked in badly. Anyway, those are my games for this week.
Electricity or Ryan, y'all want to go next?
Why don't you go, Ryan?
This week, I jumped back into Ratchet and Clank. When I first got my PS5, it was one of the games that I bought, and I played it for a little bit, but then started focusing a little bit more on some other games. So now I'm jumping back into it and really giving it the full go. It's a great game that shows off like a lot of what the PS5 can do. I think it's I think the PS5 is capable of more and will be towards the end of the generation when companies really, utilize it to its max. But some of the geometry, the level of detail and the level of geometry in some of these scenes is insane. And when you're looking at it, it's like it does feel next gen with just how much stuff is going on screen at any one time. And the design of the worlds is amazing. It usually is in Ratchet games. I fell off. I played the series in the PS2, fell off of it for years, came back in with the 2016 Ratchet, and loved it. Ended up platinuming it. I'm not enjoying this one quite as much as that 2016 game, but I'm still really enjoying it. It's got awesome, moments, awesome like spectacles that are just amazing to watch. There's so much going on. The moving through portals thing, it is cool. Just like it, when you see in these videos when you're actually playing the game and it's all happening, it's still really cool. And I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it's not quite the 2016 game, which I really loved. So there's that, and then I've also been diving back into Returnal, which is another PS5 game that I got once I got my PS5. And that game is just brutal, and you can go on 2-hour runs and have it mean absolutely nothing. So it's one of those games that I got kind of not maybe halfway or so in, and then was just getting just destroyed and was like, I'm going to pull out all my hair. I need to go to a different game that's just relaxing and I can, sit back and enjoy and just get away for a little while from this just game that's just destroying me and throwing me down. But
it's really funny. I heard so many good things about this later last year than I did throughout last year, because it was released so early. It seemed to have crept its way into a lot of conversations about Game of the Year.
Yeah, because it is a really, really good game. And Housemarque, which makes it, they come from making a lot of arcade twin stick shooters. And they famously had an article saying that arcade is dead. And they had to move on because those games don't sell anymore. So this is a game where you can see them getting away from like their old style games, twin stick arcade shooters, but they still have those elements in the game, and it still feels like an arcade game. But it's really unique how they merge these, the old fashioned arcade gameplay with the storytelling of a more modern AAA game. And it's so fun to play. And with the DualShock controller, you feel each gun differently. And it just does so much right. And the story is really interesting. I want to know what's going on. And I keep, pushing forward, trying to, figure it out. But it is a difficult game that will punish you and is not afraid to throw out the last 2 hours of your life to make you start over. And like we said last episode, this is the year of the loop. It's another loop game. So you start to see that after you die, that intro back into gameplay over and over again, and you're like, I can't see this another time. It's just reminding me of how bad I am at this game. I got to keep watching this.
This is a game that tickles me in the right way. I'm a fan of the loop game, but I'm also a fan and have the patience somehow for games where you just kind of end up, beating your head against that wall so often and just having the resilience to be able to.
What's cool about this game, but also very daunting, is that, like I said, I'm only like halfway through the game, if that. But it seems like eventually to beat the game, you're going to have to go on a run through what is essentially the entire game. It's not like Dark Souls, you kind of move through new sections and it's like, all right, well, I can just jump into that section of the game now. But this, it's like every time you are starting at the very beginning of the game and got to make your way all the way. You don't have to do those bosses again. So you're skipping that, but you still got to start from the very beginning and then make it all the way to the end, which is brutal and it's unforgiving, but it's also fascinating because I'm excited for that final run where I'm starting at the very beginning of the game that I spent this much time at and make it all the way through to get to the end of this story. It's something that it's very interesting to me, and it's just so well done and polished and everything works great. The gameplay is just, wonderful. So I never have a bad time playing it other than when you die and it's like, all right, that's 2 hours gone. I accomplished nothing. I need to play something else for a while.
Yeah.
But I respect them for doing it. I think it's very interesting. and I loved Resogun. I love House Marquee. So it's a great game. I would definitely recommend it if you're okay with getting punished like that over and over again.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. So if you're down with that, it's a great game. But I can't really speak to where the story ends up. But that's what I've been playing this week. One Ratchet and Clank relaxing game for when I get destroyed from Returnal. I can jump back and forth. It's a good team
good
that
approach.
way.
Yeah, it's always good to jump back and forth between games. Definitely I always recommend to people mix up your games, regardless of the genre. And I mean, that's just me though. Like Francie, what you got?
I've been playing a game called Hunt Down, which is by Coffee Studio, same guys that made Satisfactory and Valheim. And personally, I find the game really refreshing because, okay, sure, yeah, it's got a retro vibe to it, but I feel like the retro actually is coming back. I despite what people may believe about old games being kind of, I guess, not as appealing, I actually believe old games are coming back in some sense because of
I've
the
got
way.
a great example, Katana Zero, if you've ever
Yeah.
played it.
So, like, well, I mean, what you do with these new games, and the reason why they are so cool, is because they use the technology that is available today. Like, if I were to go back and play, I don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog on the original Genesis, or try to port it over to the PC, the experience just wouldn't be the same as it was back in the day, and it would feel dated. So, in that sense, retro gaming, it is entirely dependent upon the developers that are making the game to keep the technology in mind that they're developing for. In this case, they take full advantage of your PC. You never feel like this thing is slow. It's very responsive. The game just flows, right? And it's fun. Ultimately, it's a fun game that reminds me of like back in the day when you'd play games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or any of the less same side scroller type Mario game, but ultimately a little bit more mature, like
beat 'em ups and
yeah,
just
like
sky side scrolling platformers. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah. So
RoboCop, I think Contra, something like something
Contra,
along those.
yeah, that's exactly the one I had in mind. Contra, I think, is probably the closest one to this particular game, and I loved Contra, by the way. I think
Contra
it
was
was a fun
hard,
game, but
very
it's dated.
hard, but
It's dated.
it is dated. Yeah, very dated.
And if you compare it to this, there's just so much more here, and this really takes full advantage of PCs today.
Definitely, I'll definitely definitely give it a shot. I mean, it looks very interesting. I mean, I'd never heard of it myself, but I mean, looking at it, everyone on this podcast knows I'm a very retro inspired guy when it comes to my games. So I'll definitely give it a go. Hunt Down.
Yeah, I
On the
thought
lookout.
I never heard of it either, but watching that right there was awesome. I thought that artwork was great.
Yeah, looked really cool.
Yeah. And with those older games, they had to come up with a whole bunch of clever techniques to get things to work. And nowadays,
that is true. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, basically, there's not as many limitations nowadays, and it's like the perfect time to bring back retro gaming and take full advantage of what we have available today.
yeah, nowadays they have an idea, they can just
Yeah.
do it, and like modern consoles and PCs can just
But
brute
do it
force
right. If you're
their
gonna
way
do it,
through
you got to do it right. I mean, there's a way to do it. Yeah, in Coffee Studio, they did it perfect, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I've got a habit of doing that.
All right.
What about
You
you,
playing
Chichel?
anything? You playing anything else like Francie, or that's it?
Other than that, no, I really haven't. Like I said before, I played Satisfactory a little bit, but I haven't really gotten so much into it. It's more or less for me. Satisfactory has been a game that I have friends that have the game, and
Yeah.
they kind of try to get me into the game,
Yeah.
and so it's more of a learning experience. Like what is the main drive for this game? What can you do in this game? Like what's the most appealing part of this game? Actually, the whole reason I picked up the game is mainly because my friends have it more than anything else.
Right.
And when I actually did finally get around to playing it, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. and that's why I actually ended up deciding to keep it, because you do have that 2-hour window, as
yeah.
as you mentioned before.
Well, look, if you want some tips, I'd be happy to answer any questions you've got or have a look at a.
Ultimately, I was on a Twitch stream earlier, and Twitch streamer, he pointed to something out really important, and that is when you're playing a game, like sometimes the best recommendation for that game is to just enjoy the game the way you would enjoy it, to not have any recommendations from anybody else, because that actually takes away from the player's experience. So, I've been giving all these recommendations, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want any. I just want to play the game myself.
Yeah. I just, from my perspective, it wouldn't be, hey, as you're building that factory, don't do it this way, do it this way. This is the most efficient. Because that's exactly what it is, right? You're not.
That's what it seems like.
There's the efficient people who do it with the spaghetti, or there's the people who want to do it and just take their time with it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I see it. I just want to take my time and relax, really.
There are a lot of little things in Satisfactory that you don't get told about that can kind of adjust your experience a little bit, but enhance it as well. Like one of the massive things about it, sorry, I realize we're getting very far along in time here. One of the big things that was released more recently as a feature is aligning to what they call the world grid. When you're placing anything, if you hold control, it will align to the world grid, which is not a spoiler alert. This is a feature.
I love it.
If you go through the keyboard bindings for it, you're going to find it in that list. If you hold control, it aligns it to the world grid. And one of the big problems for people initially in Satisfactory was building out their factories in different places, but making sure they could align them. And the only way to do that previously with foundations was to have a starting point, build the foundations all the way to the new place, and then you'd know that they'll line up eventually. But if you hold control and use the world grid, you know they're going to line up perfectly, no matter where you build it in the world. Just the little things like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, definitely. All right. So I guess I'll talk about what I've been playing, then I will end the show from that perspective. So first game, I guess I'll start with the retro one I've been playing. I think I talked about this a little bit last week. The Ninja Warriors. I've been playing that. It's a beat 'em up. It was on the Super Nintendo. They put out another version called the Ninja Saviors, Return of the Warriors on the Nintendo Switch, and I think it might be on like the PS4 and Xbox One as well. But I recorded some footage there. Thanks for uploading that file. So I really appreciate it. But it's just one of those like relaxed beat 'em ups. Like I said, the only thing is I just can't pass the second level. But I was able to get past this level, and I mean, sometimes games. This week was just like I just wanted to relax and have fun playing when I was playing. Not that I don't have fun when I play some games, but some as gamers, we have to admit that there are some games that are more intense than others. So it's just like you really get into it, and frustrates you if you can't get to the next stage of the game, or just another games where it's like you really got to concentrate.
There's a theme emerging.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like this is just something just pick up and play. So sometimes that's just the best thing I can do sometimes for some of these games. It's just pick it up and play it. Pick it up, play it. Finance, once again, thanks for using my gaming footage. I appreciate that very much. So yeah, I've been playing that one. But if you do want to play like a recent version of it, Ninja Saviors: Return of the Warriors. I think it's the same company that did Wild Guns Reloaded. Wild Guns was a very popular Super NES game, in my opinion. That I don't think that type of shooter aged very well, but I mean, for the most part, that's one of the games I've been playing. And then another game I've been playing, and Matt, I've been going back and forth with you about this, and yes, I finally took one of your recommendations, The Pedestrian.
Nice.
Very good game.
Very good game.
Yeah,
it is a very good game because I mean it's a puzzle game, and I was a little curious. That little device there right by the backpack kind of reminds me of a Game Boy, but just a bunch of puzzles to solve, and does like a little quick tutorial. Like when I first started playing, I thought it was just a tutorial, and it'd be like press start to go, but no, it's just like you keep going and you keep going, and it's like you gotta put these pieces together, connect the ladders here, see what switches work here. I'm about halfway through the game right now, and oh yeah, I'm not gonna do any spoilers. You know, I'm not a spoiler kind of man, but yeah, it's available on the Xbox console side if you want to play it on the Game Pass, or you can also download it if you want to buy it. PS4, PS5. I think it's only a matter of time before it comes to the Nintendo Switch, and I believe it is. Is it on PC? It should be on PC, right? Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
on Game Pass for PC for sure. That's how I played
Game
it.
Pass. Okay. So, I mean, so if you do want to play it, so those are the two games I've been playing. And I know this show has gone very long, so if you're still watching or listening, we just want to thank you very much. We've been broadcasting live to you and yours. Shout out to a few of the guys that have been watching. Nesco79. Also, shout out to Yoshi has aim assist and Pin for Ken for Iken for commenting on our stream today. For Electrancy, Ryan and Matt, this is Justin Reed, aka Too Tall for You Fool, and thank you for listening or watching the Game and Watch podcast. Tune in for a new episode next week. We'll have some more video games we would like to share with y'all. Until then, later. Have a good one. See you on the next one.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
See ya.